A bromance to be remembered.
Take it away, Pedro.
But daddy is a state of mind, you know what I'm saying?
What the fuck?
I'm your daddy.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Of course. All right, well, on that note, welcome to a Space Turtle Show bonus review. This time we're doing The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the Nicolas Cage movie starring Nicolas Cage, about Nicolas Cage, as an ode to Nicolas Cage.
That's a beautiful movie that's encapsulating all that is Nicolas Cage. If I didn't have that TikTok of that interview with Pedro Pascal, I would describe this movie as Nicolas Cage's Birdman. And I think that that is pretty much the whole energy that you need to know coming in. It's just pure Nicolas Cage, an homage to him, his career. There's a lot of like memorabilia and like callbacks, and it's also just like fun, kind of, just like Nick Cage, and he plays it just like, I guess he's playing himself, so it definitely fits in there. But I mean, the story essentially is about Nick Cage being quote unquote washed up and not getting any roles anymore, and having to be in debt, but also not connecting with his daughter. And so he meets Pedro Pascal's character, which is like a rich, supposedly like criminal overlord, or however you say it. And I guess his daughter gets kidnapped, and action adventure, a little bit of family drama in there, and that's how it goes. Rescue mission.
Yeah, and I thought this movie was very fun, it was funny, it was fun, it had a lot of different things. One thing I loved about it was that it was an ode to the entirety of Nicolas Cage, and that it had some dramatic stuff, some comedic stuff, and some action stuff, so it truly was an ode to his entire career. And so it has a little bit for everyone. And it had, that meta kind of thinking that a lot of films seem to have nowadays, but it worked well with this one. And yeah, I thought it was a good time.
Yeah, I think that the writing kind of maybe hit a little bit more close to home to people who kind of get obsessive with movies and kind of like forget other people don't necessarily like it as much as well. And I think that that worked. The humor and the meta jokes kind of worked for me. I would say probably the same for you, Joey.
Yeah.
And I think that that made it a little bit more entertaining than maybe for like the average viewer. But all in all, there are funny jokes for everyone. One of my favorite scenes is whenever they get high on LSD and they're just paranoid, and no one's not gonna laugh at that. I feel like you gotta be really stone cold to not laugh during that part.
Yeah.
But I think all in all, my feelings are just like, it was incredibly entertaining to watch. I don't mean to be like talking down or anything like that, but I did kind of not remember exactly everything that happened already, and it's only been like
I don't want to talk down to it, but proceeds to talk down to the movie.
No, but it was fun. It was a good enjoying moment when I was watching it. Now that we're reviewing it, the truth comes out, but I would still recommend you guys see it. Super fun.
There's two really important things for this movie, I think. Mm-hmm. And one of them is the bromance between Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal, which I'm sure we're going to go into a little bit. But just on the surface level, their chemistry works great, and their friendship I totally buy, especially the way they talk about film and movies.
Yeah.
I think they do such a good job with that, in the way that they approach film fans talking about film. Like a scene where it's like Nicolas Cage is asked his favorite movie, and he's like, well, how could you pick a favorite movie? There's hundreds of movies out there,
Joey said the exact same thing, word for word.
I mean, literally, everyone I know says that loves movies, there's so many out there, you can't pick them all. And then the second important thing, other than the bromance, is that there was a drunk guy that was with us in the theater, and he gave us, I shit you not, he gave us like a slice of cheesecake randomly for free. He was like, oh, we don't want this cheesecake. You guys want this cheesecake?
Shout out to that dude.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Shout out to that dude. This movie has like an entire like bonus half a point, like I'm sure of enjoyment just because I was eating cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory during the movie. So yeah, that's a big part of what makes this film great.
I feel like he fell asleep during the movie, but you know what? His energy, he put us in the right mindset to watch the movie. Right before it started, he's like, "Hey, you guys want some cheesecake?" We're like, "Hell yeah!" You know?
Yeah, what a hero, dude.
Yeah,
what a hero
for sure. But yeah, I feel like most of what I want to talk about is generally just the bromance between Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal. I mean, I know Nicolas Cage doesn't exactly have the filmography that is super critically acclaimed every single movie that he's done, but I definitely always feel like I enjoy his performances and him as a character. I guess it's kind of, he doesn't play too much varying of himself, but I felt like this movie was a perfect chance for him to express what makes him so likable and what makes him such a star, even if that's more his peak has passed, you know? And Pedro Pascal can do no wrong. I love that man so much. Every time he smiles. One bad thing about that is that I not for a second thought that he was the bad guy. Because I'm like, no way. Pedro Pascal, when he smiles, he looks like a goofy little kid. And I'm just like, no way.
Yeah, no, they never had a scene showing him do something like evil or demented or anything. And if he was really the bad guy, you know, they would have done it earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, and part of that predictability is, you know, it's a blessing and a curse because, you know, it's a Nicolas Cage action movie and it's going to be predictable because a lot of Nicolas Cage movies are predictable like that. So it kind of has that tough line to carry, and I think it does it pretty well, and it's especially, you know, emphasized by Pedro Pascal's performance being so good. Like, I totally agree with you. Everything that guy touches turns to gold. You know, he's really dynamic of an actor, and he's so funny.
Yeah, so charismatic.
Yeah, and so their bromance is really something I look at when I look at this film. And then I look at him and his relationship with his family as well. I think that's another big thing in the film. Like his relationship with his daughter, and I don't remember the name of the actress, but then like the actress Sharon Hogan, I think she did a pretty good job as well.
Yeah, she was hilarious in that moment where she was going all badass on on the villain.
Oh yeah, and I think their dynamic worked really well. They kind of brushed it off to the side halfway through the film, which I didn't love as far as like, you know, from a writing standpoint, but I think they were really good, especially at the beginning.
Yeah, I think that there wasn't anything that was super out of left field. I would argue to say that the movie is like really predictable. I felt like I was kind of like, even when the first shot of Paco Leon, I was like, that guy seems more like the bad guy. Like, I bet he's gonna review. He's like, Nicolas Cage, you're kind of trash, and I'm like, nah, that's the bad guy, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that whether or not they had Nicolas Cage in mind when they were writing this movie, I felt like they bet a lot on the acting chops of the characters that they wrote for, or maybe like casted for, you know? And I think that is an impressive feat in and of itself, you know? It's not mind-blowing in any narrative sense. There are like a couple jokes in there that catch me off guard and are funny, but I think it takes a lot of trust to put on your actors and actresses to carry the film when the story doesn't necessarily do so. And not to say that the movie was like boring or anything. I think that's even a different issue. I feel like the movie is super entertaining, and it just had that energy of like, this is totally how a Nick Cage movie would go. You know, it's not going to be like a Birdman with Nicolas Cage as the lead, you know, like, so I'm not saying it's as good as Birdman.
Although I actually think if Nicolas Cage was in Birdman, I think he would kick so much ass. If it were the actual Birdman, because he really does have acting chops, you know, like his work in Adaptation, which they allude to a little bit in this one with the two Nicolas Cages, but you know, you can tell like in Raising Arizona too. Have you seen Raising Arizona?
No.
Oh, it's so good, but Nicolas Cage has a repertoire of performances that prove he's such a quality actor, and I think that's what makes him such a dynamic talent. And what they're trying to show here is that he's got so much range and so many things that he can do as part of a movie star or an actor or whatever he wants to be. He's pretty capable of doing all of those things, and it's really funny that he would even act in this movie and do this thing, but it's such a Nicolas Cage thing to do, that it's like perfect.
Yeah, I feel like we say it a lot, but I think that it takes even a little bit more gusto to read this script, perhaps if it wasn't written like with him. I don't think the writer has him credited or anything like that, but to have all these like jokes about your career being washed up and taking it and like running with it, and I think that that's great. Not taking himself too seriously, like not like demanding it be more like a Birdman type drama, and I think that that's kind of like how I view Nicolas Cage, like a down to earth guy. I feel like he is trying to make that like money, and he's an actor and he likes movies, and it's not necessarily that he takes himself too seriously, and I think that that showed really well. Hopefully he's like that in real life, but that's
what providing for my family. So he's a burden now. Yeah, no,
$600,000 in debt from a hotel, bro.
Yeah, they do a really good job with that kind of stuff. And like Neil Patrick Harris, a really quick shout out to him. I kind of thought he was going to play himself at first, and then he was like an agent, and I was like, oh man, I wish it was Neil Patrick. But he's a great agent, I think. He's just an agent, but he's like really funny, and he does well with the role. Like I feel like Neil Patrick Harris is a little hit or miss for me whenever he does things. Like
I think so too.
Like him as the villain in the recent Matrix movie.
Oh yeah,
garbage, bro. That was like some of your worst work.
Shouting him out specifically, bro.
Yeah, that was bad. But he was really good in this, and I think when he's utilized right, he's a really great actor, and this was really funny.
Yeah, I think aside from like the bromance and some of the top acting and casting, I would say everything else kind of just added to the experience a little bit, but not anything stand out in my opinion. Like the music, it was fine. Like cinematography, directing, I think it was just more leaning towards like the charisma of like the cast, and that's pretty much all I have to say regarding that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're getting into a couple negatives, I would say the directing, and a lot of these are just average, they're not bad, but I don't think they're good either. I thought the directing was fine. I didn't feel anything about it. The cinematography, I didn't think about much. The setting itself, I thought was okay. I thought it was pretty mid, honestly. I think Spain is such a beautiful place, and it didn't come across that way. Something about the color correction maybe, or like the saturation, it just didn't click right for me. It felt more like a movie than I wish it looked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
So those are just a couple of things that, I didn't hate, but I didn't love either.
Yeah. Other than the negatives that I had before, I feel like that's pretty much it. Maybe a little forgettable, but it's super enjoyable, and the situation we're in also added a lot to it. So yeah, I mean, it was nice to see. It was great that they shouted out Mandy. I love that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mandy I think it's Nicolas Cage's best movie, maybe. Like I love Mandy, but I'm glad they did the chainsaw. Shout out Paddington 2.
Yes,
what a great
that was
movie.
A good joke. Yes,
everyone knows. If you've seen Paddington 2,
I cried.
Perfect joke. Just like that's a joke that like only film fans like would really truly understand, like because that's such a film fan like conversation where it's like, guys, I know you haven't seen Paddington 2, but Paddington 2, like how many times I've said that to friends is like, I don't know, like 3 times, but that's a lot of times for a movie like that.
Yeah, I mean, totally quoting Nick Cage when he's saying like going from the cabinet of Caligari or something like that.
Dr. Caligari.
Yeah, Dr. Caligari, and then going to Paddington as your number 3. That that catches people off guard whenever you kind of are into the film history and all that kind of stuff. But
it's
totally
absolutely
valid.
Right. Yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's mostly all I mean, I can't think of much else other than yeah. It was as a closing thought. It was very fun. It was very funny. I think it's like hard to state. Like it is very funny.
Super
Like
entertaining.
as much as the story is like okay at the ending and whatever, and but it's very funny. Like the jokes inside it, the dialogue, everything like
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah. Did you want to unveil the the rating system in this video or the next one?
I mean, we can just unveil it now.
Oh,
Like, why
for
not?
sure.
We got
So-
some extra time.
Yeah, okay. So, we've got something for you guys.
Oh yeah.
I know there's a lot of discussion heavy focus on this podcast, but we wanted to at least try our hand at a ranking system, numerical, I guess, just to, if people maybe don't want to watch the review yet, they want to hop to the end to see if they want to catch the film before, especially for like new releases and stuff like that. And we try to do a little spin on it.
Oh yeah. I think we've got the best spin. Yeah, we got the best rating system.
Turtle centric. And I guess we're not gonna list it down 0 to 10 or 1 to 10 for you guys right now. I think it'll be fun to see what turtles get unveiled as we watch new movies.
Yeah.
And so we'll put a number on it just so you guys start to associate each of the. But eventually, hopefully, we don't have to put a number, and we maybe can get it in the slang. We can get some comments like, "This is definitely blah blah blah," like turtle, like
Oh, yeah.
out of 10,
We got some good turtles out there.
All right,
Trust me.
yeah.
Trust me.
So, did you want to do yours first, or?
I can do mine first.
All right, I'm excited to see what you.
So, the rating I give the unbearable weight of massive talent, I will give it a crush and a squirt.
A crush and a squirt out of
A crush
10.
and a squirt.
All right.
You know, it's a solid film, very fun, and it had a lot of great things with it, with some minor things that I thought were only average, some directing and writing things that I had a slight problem with, maybe the setting a little bit too, but I had a great time with it, so a crush and a squirt.
Awesome. That is a great rating. I know, we watch a lot of good films, so numerically these might seem a little low, but trust me, these are great.
No,
think.
I mean, who doesn't like
Yeah,
crush?
crush, man.
I mean, that's the best part of this rating system. Like, a 6, boo. A crush?
Yes,
A
it
crush,
makes sense.
though?
I think we thought about it deeply enough that these turtles make sense, And for me, I would also give it a crush. I was debating between the squirt. But I think overall, after a couple days, I think I'm just gonna give it a crush out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Crush out of 10 sounds good though.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
that's
That'll
it
be
for
all. Yeah. All right. See you guys next time. Bye.